The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Yeme Fook. That is Czech for I give a shit. And at least one player gives a shit on the Vancouver Canucks right now, and he hails from the Czech Republic.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive, Vancouver. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks because it is your Canucks every damn day. And you're joining us despite this season slowly going down the toilet, but still a chance for the Canucks tonight yet again to at least erase or at least pause all the negativity and go get a win against the Calgary Flames. We will preview that game later on in the show. We'll also dive into the unluckiest Canucks this season. I mean, this team's been bad. We all know it. The worst offensive team in the NHL since January 1st. But who out of that category has been bad and who has been bit by a little bit of bad luck? But let's kick off the show by talking about the Canucks MVP of 2025. And unfortunately, it is not Elias Pettersson. It is definitely not Brock Besser. Brock Besser? It is not even one of the goaltenders. And Quinn Hughes, he's obviously been the MVP for this team this season by far. But the guy's only played 4 games since JT Miller got traded. Only 4 games to get acclimated with the team. The Canucks MVP of 2025 so far has been Filip Hronek. And I don't know if it's even fair to say where would the Canucks be without Filip Hronek. Because, again, it's not like this team has been great since the calendar flipped to January 1st. That being said, you do have a guy in Filip Hronek right now who is playing like he cares. Yeme Fook, Filip Hronek. And we saw it again last night, over 28 minutes in the game against the Montreal Canadiens. And look, I don't know if it's a sad indictment on the blue line. I don't want to go that far, but the team needs Filip Hronek right now. And what did Rick Tocchet say when he spoke to the media after not the last game against the Canadiens, but the game against the Dallas Stars? He is going to give ice time to players who deserve it. And one of the guys who deserves it most right now is Filip Hronek. I mean, just look at the stats. And this is crazy. Just look at the stats since January 1st for your Vancouver Canucks. Quinn Hughes, we all know he leads the team with 18 points in 16 games since January 1st. Second is Filip Hronek with 15 points in 22 games. Third is Tyler Myers. Oh, my God. 3 defensemen lead this team in points since January 1st. But let's get to that more later when I go through who has been the unluckiest among Canuck players so far this season. But just to focus on Filip Hronek for a bit longer here, Filip Hronek is actually tied with Quinn Hughes, Nils Höglander, and Tyler Myers for the team lead in terms of even strength points since January 1st. He also leads the team by himself in even strength points since the JT Miller trade on January 31st. Filip Hronek has absolutely stepped up as a number 1 defenseman with Quinn Hughes out of the lineup. And again, the Canucks, as a team, they got that structure, baby. You know, they're not getting too crazy. They're not like me in the bedroom trying to flip upside down and do something different. The Canucks, they stick to their structure, and Filip Hronek is a big part of that. And look, we all know that he's not Quinn Hughes, but no one is Quinn Hughes, right? Aside from maybe a guy like Cale Makar, no one in this league can do what Quinn Hughes does. But Filip Hronek has looked like a bona fide number 1 defenseman with Quinn Hughes out of the lineup. And it's not just the points either. It's not just the points. It's the overall impact he's bringing to the team on a nightly basis. I mean, we can see it with the stretch passes. He's one of the few guys who is creating right now, whether it's just firing pucks on net or finding guys with a long stretch pass up the ice. He's one of the few guys who's able to create offense right now. And again, there's a reason why. Of healthy Canucks right now, he leads the team in points. since January 1st and leads the team in even strength points with Quinn Hughes out of the lineup. I mean, man, oh man, there's a lot of other problems with the Canucks right now when you're saying things like that. But even if you just want to look at the point since, oh my God, this is a pretty crazy stat too. So the point since January 31st, since the Canucks traded JT Miller, Filip Hronek leads the team with 11 points in 14 games. No other Canuck has more than 6 points since JT Miller was traded from this team. That's 14 games. 14 games. No Canuck has more than 6 points except for Filip Hronek, who has 11 points. And again, a lot of issues with this team right now. But you looked at that Filip Hronek contract, and I was wondering to myself about a month ago, did the Canucks overpay on Filip Hronek? Because again, with Quinn Hughes in the lineup, the offensive numbers, they weren't there. For the most part, he's a solid defensive player, but you strip away his stats from when he was playing without Quinn prior to this injury, and they didn't look good. You're talking about an expected goals for percentage around 40%. I personally wanted to see him, and I said this, everydayers know, especially if you were an everydayer last season, I wanted to see Filip Hronek get a chunk of time away from Quinn Hughes before you signed him to that 8-year deal worth $7.25 million. And look, I still stand by that because I truly believe that the Canucks they would have gotten him for less than what they signed him for. But maybe I'm just an idiot behind a microphone because Filip Hronek, again, has stepped up without Quinn Hughes in the lineup. And again, we're noticing him more as well because he's had to be the number one defenseman for this team. Based on my scenario, even if you split them up, Quinn Hughes is still in the lineup. But again, Filip Hronek, the power play is a little dicey right now. Again, he's just not Quinn Hughes there. Not enough movement overall, though. Finally, Elias Pettersson created some movement, directed some guys, and scored a goal from distance on the power play the other night to go with his power play goal against the Minnesota Wild on Friday night as well. So Filip Hronek, again, not Quinn Hughes there, but he's done everything you could ask of him. And he's doing it with different partners as well. One of the main guys right now who may be benefiting from playing with Filip Hronek, and this is low-key under the radar, is Elias Pettersson. And we saw those two paired together at training camp, right? A long, long time ago now. Canucks training camp of 2024 feels like it was 10 years ago. But at that training camp, you had DPD paired with Filip Hronek. And you're starting to see these two play together a bit more now with Quinn Hughes out of the lineup. And what a guy for DPD to learn from too. And Kyle Bowen said it when we were looking at comparables for that was for Tom Willander. Compared Tom Willander a bit to Filip Hronek there, but with DPD, that's a guy who can learn from a guy like Filip Hronek. And DPD as a left side guy isn't going to play with Quinn Hughes, but he might be a long-term fixture with Filip Hronek moving forward. And again, Filip Hronek's already proven that he can be, to me at least, he's proven that he can be a number one defenseman in the NHL. Maybe not a number one defenseman on a cup contender, but he can be a number one defenseman. So shout out to Steve Yzerman for trading him away. Trading that first-round pick for Filip Hronek made more sense than the first-round pick that they just gave up for Marcus Pettersson. But I'm trying to stay positive here, at least in the first few minutes of this episode of Locked On Canucks. If you want to look at Hronek's contract value, again, I do wish this team played him without Hughes, got him signed to a deal that paid him less than $7.25 million. There was an easy path for them to do that, but they decided not to go down that road. That being said, Filip Hronek is providing value on that contract, or at least providing market value on that contract, I should say. So when I look at the Athletics player card model, in my eyes, a pretty good gauge of where a player's contract or player's value is overall. They have Filip Hronek's value at $7 million overall. So, maybe he's overpaid by a couple $100,000 based on their model. But overall, you're getting Filip Hronek at market value right now. And I would say that over these past few games with Filip Hronek in the lineup, without Quinn Hughes, he's provided beyond that market value. We also got to remember, and this is the last point of Filip Hronek here, he might not be fully healthy. I mean, this guy did miss, 7 weeks with what we believe to be a shoulder injury. He was expected to be out of the lineup until the Four Nations break. He ended up coming back early. And he has had the Four Nations break for a bit of rest there too. But again, you're talking about a guy who missed significant time with an injury, who had a similar injury before when he came to the Vancouver Canucks. That was only 2 years ago. And now you have him playing upwards of 25 minutes a night. That's a lot of ice time for a guy who's missed a significant stretch of time. But shout out to Filip Hronek. Hopefully, and the reporting suggests that Quinn Hughes will be back for the Vancouver Canucks against the Calgary Flames tonight. Again, Filip Hronek's done everything you could ask for with Quinn Hughes of the lineup. But man, oh man, if this team truly wants to, at this point, surprise the hockey world and make the playoffs, they're going to need Quinn MVP Hughes back in the lineup. Hit us up in the comments here, whether you're on YouTube Live, listening after the fact, reaching out to us on social media. Do you think Filip Hronek has looked like a number one defenseman for the Vancouver Canucks in the absence of Quinn Hughes? Or am I just grasping that positivity, man? Because there's not a lot of positivity about this team right now. On the other side, I will try to throw some flowers at least a couple of Canucks. I might poo-poo on a couple others, but I do want to look at who has been unluckiest of late, because no one's scoring. I mentioned it. Filip Hronek has almost double the points of the next 4 players since JT Miller was traded. Again, Filip Hronek, 11 points in 14 games. DeBrusk, Garland, Filip Chytil, Pius Suter, all tied with 6 points. Crazy state for your Vancouver Canucks right now. But again, my grasp on positivity, or has Filip Hronek looked like a number one defenseman? I'm saying he's looked like a number one defenseman. Speaking of number ones, let's shout out one of our sponsors here on the other side. And this is the number one place to go bet on sports. It's FanDuel, baby. Man, oh man, if you're betting on sports, the place that you got to go do it is on FanDuel, okay? Obviously I'm an NHL guy, but if you want to break from the Canucks, March Madness is here. And FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get not $150, but $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra dollars to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Now, again, I'm more of a hockey guy than a March Madness guy, and I'm looking at the Canucks and Flames tonight. The Canucks are underdogs against the Calgary Flames, and rightly so. We'll talk about it as we preview this game on the other side, but the Canucks again on a second night of back-to-backs playing a Calgary Flames team who has been pretty darn good at home overall this season. And again, the Canucks, if you're liking the Canucks tonight, they are plus 125 on the money line on FanDuel. So whether you're betting on the Canucks, March Madness, whatever it is, make sure you go place those bets on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, I'm back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every damn day. We appreciate you sticking around, tuning in, even with this team kind of making us sad. And I hope I don't make you sad, because once in a while I'll make fun of myself, man. Again, I talk a lot, but my below the belt, I'm not as confident as I am above the neck. Okay, I'll tell you that for free. Shout out to Bo Horvat. Are they in a playoff spot? Again, unbelievable stuff going on with the New York Islanders. Unbelievable stuff going on with your Vancouver Canucks, who have just not gotten anything going of late. But one of the things I did want to look at here is who has been the most snake bitten among Vancouver Canucks this season. So, I got a couple players on my mind here who I believe have deserved better of late for your Vancouver Canucks, just based on the work that they're putting in. So let's start first and foremost with Filip Chytil, the new guy. And Filip Chytil, he came into this market on a mission, okay? Yeah, mate, fook. Filip Chytil playing like he gives a shit. Why are only the Czech guys playing like they give a shit? I don't know. Something in the water there in the Czech Republic. Maybe the rest of the guys in the Canucks haven't been to Prague. It's a beautiful city. You should go check it out if you've never done so. But Filip Chytil, Filip Hronek, the Phillips on this team, the guys arguably playing most like they give a shit among players on this Canucks team right now. But Filip Chytil, kind of quietly, He has just 2 goals at even strength and no assists in 13 games since joining the Vancouver Canucks. All of his 4 points have come either at 3-on-3, 4-on-4, or on the power play. Again, his only 5-on-5 points have been the 2 goals that he scored so far this season. And oh, by the way, I know plus minus doesn't tell the whole story, but he is a -10. Again, a lot of Canucks in the minus territory. Pretty much everyone except Kiefer Sherwood and Teddy Bluger. Shout out to Teddy Gluger and the Glue guys there. But Filip Hronek, we can see it with the eye test. He is creating offense. And when you look at, individual expected goals for, Filip Hronek he leads the Vancouver Canucks since joining the team, or even since January 1st. He's expected to create 1.19 goals per 60. And again, he scored about half of that. So probably deserving of at least a couple more goals. And the way he's trying to create chances too, just by throwing pucks in the net, something that no other Canucks are really doing with regularity, he deserves to have a little bit more go his way. And I'm thinking too about what are the most optimal lines for the Vancouver Canucks. Obviously, they got chucked in the blender. Rick Tocchet, okay, he's got blenders. He got plenty of blenders in the office at Rogers Arena. I've seen it. I peeked in the door. He's got 5 Vitamixes just lined up on the shelf because he doesn't know what 4 combinations to put together right now for this team. But when I think of a guy about Brock Boeser, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, Brock Boeser is not a guy who I think has been snake bit. Maybe to an extent he has been. But for the most part, Brock Boeser just is not creating offense. Now, Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser, here's a sad stat. Oh, God, I'm going dark on you guys for a second here because this is nuts. Since since JT Miller, I should say, was traded away from your Vancouver Canucks, the Canucks played 14 games. In those 14 games, Brock Boeser has one assist at even strength, and it's a secondary assist. Elias Pettersson, since JT Miller was traded away from your Vancouver Canucks, has 1 assist as well in 14 games. We're talking about the 2 highest paid forwards on this team, and they have combined for 2 assists in 28 games. Unbelievable stuff from the stars of the Canucks. But hey, it can all turn around tonight against the Calgary Flames. More with that as we wrap up the show, and I'll get some of your comments as well. I'm sure you venting off, maybe making fun of my wiener. It's all good. It's all open game in the comments. Just be good to each other. You don't have to be good to me, but be good to each other. A couple other guys have been snake bitten. One guy who's looked pretty good, I'd say, since coming back up has been Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Not to say he's been brilliant, but he's looking like he fits in the NHL. And there's just not enough guys on this team right now who are shooting the puck with regularity. Jonathan Lekkerimäki is one of those guys. He's, other than Filip Hronek, he's actually got the highest shot rate per 60 right now on the Vancouver Canucks at even strength. And again, this team is alerted to shooting the puck. What did Kyle and I say on the program? Every dayer's no. The argument for bringing Jonathan Lekkerimäki up was the fact that he can shoot the puck on a team where they desperately need guys to shoot the puck here. Jonathan Lekkerimäki, I think he's due for a goal. I think he's looked not bad with Filip Hronek. And again, he had a good shot in the first period last night as well against the Montreal Canadiens, a team who he did score one of his only 2 career goals against so far. But I think Jonathan Lekkerimäki, he's looking better than Brock Boeser right now. I mean, how insane is that? Being a Canucks fan doesn't make a lot of sense. The last guy I'll say who has been snake bitten to me has been Dakota Joshua. Dakota Joshua actually has 0 even strength points since JT Miller's been traded. He only has 4 even strength points in 39 games this season. And we all know it was a slow start for Dakota Joshua. Just as he started to get his game back, he gets injured and then misses another chunk of time. So it hasn't been a clean season for Dakota Joshua. I do think he's been one of the most noticeable Canucks over the past handful of games here. Obviously, I don't say he should have scored last night. I mean, my Canuck fandom says he should have scored, but from the replay, it did look like that puck was just touching the line. He's still a bunch of BS. Come on, give us the majority rule there, NHL. Gary Bettman's still never going to do the Canucks any favors. But Dakota Joshua has been coming on late. He's been getting more shots on net. He deserves more than 0 even strength points over his last 14 games. And again, unlike the stars on this team who aren't really producing, Dakota Joshua, I think, deserves a bit more production on the score sheet. So those are my 3 Canucks. If you're looking for breakout candidates on offense, I mean, man, I feel like it's just hope. It's a hope and a prayer to say that Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser are going to bounce back. But the 3 guys that I think have been unlucky, who deserve better, Filip Hronek, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, Dakota Joshua. Hey, if you're placing a little wager on FanDuel, that might be your anytime goal scores for tonight against the Calgary Flames. Let's talk a bit more about this matchup. The biggest game of the season, at least that's what the Calgary Flames are saying. We'll preview the matchup on the other side and tell you why. The Canucks are going to be in tough tonight against the Wolfman because, man, oh man, the guy's a different guy on home ice. But let's get into the meat of that matchup. Canucks Flames preview on the other side here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every damn day. We'll be right back after shouting at our friends over at Indeed. Man, oh man, I hope you keep tuning into Locked On Canucks. It doesn't have to be an everyday thing, but at least occasionally, man, because, hey, sometimes being a Canuck fan can be tough. We try not to make it too tough. But if you stop listening, I'm going to have to go find a job on Indeed, okay? And I don't want to do that. But if I did have to go find a job, I'd use Indeed, okay? Because whether it's an employee or an employer, you got to use Indeed. And, at my day job, okay, we needed to hire someone like yesterday. And we found that the way to find amazing candidates fast was just to use Indeed, because Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites, because Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. All right. And again, we needed to hire someone at my job, and we tried a bunch of job sites, and Indeed is what got the job done. And for you listening, you can speed up your hiring process even quicker with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support Locked On Canucks by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Indeed, guess what? It's all you need. All right, we're back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every damn day. And before I get into some of the meat of this game tonight, let's get to it, okay? Let's get a couple comments here on Locked On Canucks. Elston Gunn, man. I mean, Canucks negativity is rubbing off on this guy. Talk about our title today. At least the Canucks have this guy, the MVP of 2025, Filip Hronek. And he's saying, this fan base doesn't hate to lose enough. Hey, Elston has also been watching Shoresy. He's saying we're always polishing a turd and eating out of Aquaman's palm. Man, oh man. Okay. I don't think any of us here are willingly trying to eat out of Aquaman's palm. I think we are fans of this team at the end of the day. Following a sports team is supposed to be fun, okay? It's a roller coaster, but it's supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to be fun. And last year was a ton of fun as a Canucks fan, but this year, we're grasping at straws to find positives, okay? And if we came on here 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, it's more like 8 times a week with the postcast here on Locked On Canucks, and we just spewed negativity the whole time, it'd be realistic, but I don't think you would want to be tuning in. So you got to find positives with the team. Hey, it's not all bad. This team is not the San Jose Sharks. Even the worst teams in the NHL have something to cheer about, okay? I saw our friends over at Locked On Sharks. They're not Locked On Celebrini, okay? They got a Vancouver boy to cheer for, making things a little bit easier. Smirky Mixer in the comments saying, is Quinn Hughes going to play tonight? And I'm trying to get firm confirmation on that, but Rick Talkie did suggest in the postgame last night that Quinn Hughes is going to play for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. He was on the ice for the Canucks this morning in Calgary. It does seem like Quinn Hughes is going to play tonight. And again, hopefully he stays healthy, man, because if the Canucks are actually going to make the playoffs, they need Quinn Hughes in this lineup for 90% of the remaining games, okay? There was also a bit of an update on Thatcher Demko. It came from Steven Valaket. It's not a Canucks insider, but an NHL goalie expert. He's saying that Thatcher Demko is dealing with a groin injury right now. And as a goalie, those groin injuries are no bueno. And talk about bad luck for the Canucks this season. I talked about the guys who've been snake bit offensively. Thatcher Demko has been snake bitten a whole different way this season with the popliteus injury, with the back spasms, and now a groin injury. This guy has had 3 separate injuries after being the runner-up for the Vezina last season, missed all the playoffs except for 1 game. I can't think of another guy I'm cheering harder for to make a comeback, to revive his NHL career, if you want to call it that, than Thatcher Demko. No one deserves happiness among Canuck players on this roster more than the new daddy Thatcher Demko, okay? So again, not sure when he's going to come back. It looks like Kevin Lankinen is going to play back-to-backs tonight for your Vancouver Canucks, that's going to be a tough thing for him. He has not played many back-to-backs in his NHL career, because he's, again, kind of been a backup for the most part. I believe he played a couple when he was with the Chicago Blackhawks. And tonight he's going up against Dustin Wolf, who looks like he should be playing World of Warcraft in his parents' basement, but here he is. Potentially a front runner for the Calder right now. I know we saw Lane Hudson last night. Macklin's still at Brady Blas in that conversation. But for my money, we talked about Quinn Hughes, being a heart candidate if the Canucks make the playoffs. Dustin Wolf, not only should he win the Calder, in my opinion, if the Flames make the playoffs, he should probably be in the Vezina conversation too. Dustin Wolf right now, again, the craziest thing that I was reading about Dustin Wolf today is the splits between home and away. So on home, he has an .895 save percentage this season, so below league average. On home ice, so .895 on the road. On home ice, a .928 save percentage. A massive reason why the Calgary Flames have an 18-10-2 home record. Because Dustin Wolf is a different player on home ice, and Canucks fans saw that, right? I was at that game, 8th row behind the net. I was screaming at Dustin Wolf. I felt bad at looking after the fact because the guy looks like he's 15 years younger than me instead of 10 years younger than me. I was yelling at him all night long, but he shut down the Canucks. The Canucks only got 1 goal by him that night. And the Flames only needed 2 goals plus the empty netter to beat the Vancouver Canucks that night. Dustin Wolf, you got to think the dam's going to break eventually on home ice. But is it going to break against this Vancouver Canucks team who's struggling to score? Look, Canucks fans, if you're grasping for positivity today, here's what you got to go for. When things seem down and out, the law of averages always rears its ugly head. And Dustin Wolf has been on a heater at home. He's been on a heater over his past couple games as well. With this coming off of a shutout against the Montreal Canadiens. The Vancouver Canucks, they've been bad offensively, but they've also been snake-bitten as well. With one of the lowest shooting percentages in the league since January 1st. I mentioned the guys today, Filip Hronek, Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, Dakota Joshua, 3 guys that have deserved better luck than they've gotten so far this season. The law of averages, tonight would be the night for it to rear its ugly head for the Calgary Flames and to help the Canucks to victory. Again, you got Quinn Hughes back in the lineup. You got 3 guys deserving to score, and you got a Flames team who, their goalie probably shouldn't be as hot as he is overall. He's good, but is he that good? He is beatable after all. We've seen it a lot more on the road, though, than we have at home. Again, just to lay out the stakes for the Canucks tonight, this is from our friends over at Money Puck, based on their playoff odds. I mean, they've been more down the Canuck playoff odds than other platforms out there. But they have, if the Canucks beat the Flames in regulation tonight, it boosts their playoff odds by 9.3%, making the likelihood of them making the playoffs at 33.6%. Oh, that's low. If they lose to the Flames in regulation, it has them dropping the likelihood of them making the playoffs 8.3%, giving them a 16.1% chance overall to make the playoffs. So according to Money Puck, and this is just one platform, but this lines up for me, the Canucks have a 1 in 3 chance of making the playoffs if they win in regulation, and a 1 in 6 chance of making the playoffs if they lose in regulation. It is a huge, huge game for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. It's a huge game for the Calgary Flames. Again, Money Puck has their odds slightly higher. If they win in regulation tonight, 43.5% chance to make the playoffs, 24% if they lose in regulation. Massive game for both teams. I don't care if you're down and out of the Canucks right now. This is a big game. Let's all enjoy it. And if you enjoy what we're doing here at Locked On Canucks, make sure you go subscribe and like this on YouTube, and on the podcast side, go follow us and leave a 5-star review. I'm on babysitting duty tonight, but I'll try to hop on the post-game show. Kyle will try to get it done too. But whenever we release a show, you know it's not going to be long because it's Locked On Canucks, baby. Your Canucks every damn day.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.